Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I remember when I was small and I was seeing my dad playing Risk with their friends, or actually, it was called Risico, which is just an interesting variant rather than conquering all the world. You have missions, and if you accomplish the mission, you win the game. But their overall vibe and style of the game was still the same: three kind of troops, three dice to roll, match the higher die with the opponent's higher die and see who wins. Very luck based, can be very long. We all know, if you are in this channel, we all know how Risk plays, and probably you don't like it. Risk is in the genre called area control. You have area on the board that if you control that area or a majority of similar area, you gain bonuses and eventually you may win the game because of points, because you conquer a determined number of region or a specific region. In this video, I'm gonna give you 10 games that replace Risk for me, or if you like the board, dominating or sprawling on the board, this game will give you that in a very much better way and more satisfying. Number 10, we have a very interesting area control game. This is Yoraku or Juraku, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. This is a card game, this is a trick-taking game that combines area control with trick-taking. What you do is on your turn, when you need to lead a trick, you select the card, and the card tells you whether you're gonna place the troops on the board or you're gonna have action points to move troops that you already have on the board and do stuff. You can kill other troops, you can move your leader, and then players will have to follow your suit and apply the same conditions or have the same choice that you have, but they are now limited to the suit that you have led. There are several, I think there are 6 areas. These areas, when you control at the end of each round, have different points. It kind of represent the journey of these enemies, of the soldiers moving towards Kyoto. And the closer you get to Kyoto, so throughout the game, the highest is going to be the point. That area where Kyoto is not worth much a point at the beginning of the game, and it gets more and more later on. Very interesting approach. I know it's not for everyone, but if you're looking for area control and card game, Juraku is definitely a game to check that out. At number 9, we have Fractured Sky. Fractured Sky is a very interesting one. It combines deduction, it has kind of deduction, auction, and most importantly, area control. What you do, you're gonna deploy 3 ships on your board, and below this ship, you're gonna have a magnet or that indicates the strength of the ship that you're gonna send. However, the total amount of strength between the 3 ships is defined, I think it's 11 or 12. And the chips have all the same color except the 0 and the highest value chip, I think it's a 10 or something like that. So when you see that color be deployed by your opponent, you know that it can be one of the two, but you don't know if it's a 0 or if it's a big number. Throughout the game, you can deploy ships, you can deploy your units on the board, but you can also pick some cards that will tell you which area of the board will actually give you pointer. And so you have that kind of deduction. You see there might be Jonathan deploying a very high value chip on an area that he already checked the card to. So he's like, did he find out that area is gonna score and gets lots of points, or he just bluffing? You don't know. So you try to understand it. I like that interaction. Very beautiful component. Ivy Studio made a beautiful game and it plays very smoothly. Highly recommend the higher player count, although it can be a little bit longer if you lose yourself into that deduction aspect of it. But definitely a game that you want to check it out, Fractured Sky. At number 8, we have almost a classic now, Bruno Faiduti and Bruno Catala. This is Mission Red Planet, recently released on a 3rd edition. This is a game that combines area control with a system that I really like. Everyone has started with the same deck of cards. You have a number between 1 and 9. The number cards with the higher number have a less interesting action. The card with the lower number have a more interesting action. However, what you do simultaneously, you select one card to play, then players will reveal their cards and they will activate it in descending order. So the higher cards will go first, followed by the lowest numbers. So whoever goes first is probably gonna do their own action. Whoever has the lowest number may not be able to complete their action, do the cool things because things happens on the board. Ships get blown up and aliens get attacked. The board on Mars gets changed, and the final mission for you is launch spaceship with your aliens to get to Mars, and there essentially have an area control where when and there are going to be some scoring rounds where you're going to score points based on the majority of specific area around Mars. You also have mission that will give you points if you occupy specific area of Mars. Very, very fast. Really, this is a game that can be played between 2 and 6 players. I always bring it up with 6 players because it's really fast. Everything plays simultaneously, and there's a very strong interaction between players. And this is Mission Red Planet. At number 7, we have also a classic that recently been released with another beautiful reprint, and this is Cyclades. In Cyclades, you are fighting between the islands and the sea to control 3 metropolis. The first player that conquer 3 or builds 3 metropolis is going to win the game. And I really like this kind of system where you have a goal. Whoever achieves this goal first is going to win. No, we don't count points. We don't count rounds. That's it. I really like this system. Or when games have that built in their mechanism. Another thing that I like is auctions. And this game has auctions. You are bidding with your powers or to utilize goals that will essentially give you the action for that round. And so you can bid, and it's not a classic straight up auction. What you do, you're going to bid based on what you want to spend for a specific god that you want to activate, and you put the pawn on that track relatively to the god. If Samantha comes in and wants to play or wants to activate the same god, needs to, first of all, overbid or bid higher than you did. And when she does, your pawn goes back to you. So now when your pawn goes back to you, you are forced to bid something else. Or you can bump another person, or you can go to an empty god and take that. You cannot bid again on the god that you just be bumped out. You need to wait potentially to be bumped out again, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So you need to have always a plan B. So I really want this god, I really want Ares, but my second option would be Zeus. So I need to choose. No, I'm gonna go strong on Ares, but if it doesn't work, I can have Zeus. So very, very interesting, very beautiful component recently, very interesting game. And this is Cyclades. Number 6, we have a big plastic miniature on the map. This is probably one of the best masterpiece by Eric Lang, and we are talking about Blood Rage. Blood Rage is an area control plus drafting, and I think the drafting makes this game shine. The area majority is very standard, nothing fancy, nothing special. When the score and when the rounds end, or the era in that case, you score points based on where you are and the missions that you have. But the cool thing is the drafting at the beginning. And that's where the game can be made or broken right out of the bat. What I mean is, if you don't know, unfortunately, this is an unforgiving game for first player. If you don't know how to draft those cards, you're gonna be wrecked because all the cards looks cool. All the monsters and special weapons, but you also need to evaluate the mission cards that those that will give you or will grant you the most points at the end of the game. So you want to choose those wisely and draft also the monster cards that will help you achieve those missions. Fantastic game. I look forward to play it again. And this is a number 6, Blood Rage. Number 5, we have a game that at its core, I think it's area control. Most of the faction of this game score points based on area control, and this game is Root. Here you can see the newest expansion. Soon you're gonna see a video about it. And this is to me an area control. Some of the factions don't score points based on how many region they occupy or which region they occupy. They score points based on tokens or deploying tokens or kill enemies and such and such. But the majority of factions, they score points based on how many roosts they have on the board based on how many clearings that they rule, things like that. So I consider Root an area control game. And it's my favorite game of all time. So give me the opportunity to introduce Root as many times as possible. This is a game that is still alive, although Cold War is not participating, releasing new expansion, a new faction. We have a new one here, which has been kind of review or collaborated with Cold War to come out in the print. And I really look forward to talk about more. At number 5, we have Root. At number 4, we have a fantastic Euro game with area control, and this is Scythe. Scythe is a game where you have a board where you're going to select one action per turn. You cannot select the same action you performed the previous round unless you have a special faction. I think it can do that. So you always have to change those actions. And you have a good action at the top and then a better action at the bottom that you can upgrade by building things around. Another things that I like is the resources. They are always on the board. You don't collect them. So if you lose control of some area where your resources are, your opponents will gather these resources. It's so thematic, right? If you have a farm and someone comes and takes your farm, your resources are not your player board, are still in the farm, so they will be taken by your opponent. And it may sound punishing, but believe me, it's not as punishing it may sound. And the area control part, and then you have reputation track, the popularity track. The higher you go on that, the higher is the multiplier for the areas that you control, for the resources that you have, for the mission that you achieve. So there is an area control, but there also are missions. You have upgrade, you deploy mechs that give you special power. Each faction is different. There is also some encounters that give you really flavor and story. And there's a fantastic expansion that is the Rise of Ferencis, that is really one of the best expansion ever released for any game, that gives you a campaign with module that twists and turns these games in a very unique way. Highly, highly recommended. This is number 4, Scythe. These games, and in the top 3 games, we have games that I think they bring the essence of area control to the maximum. In the previous games, you have a twist, you have trick taking, you have a Euro game, you have auctions or deduction combined with area control. The number 1 to these top 3 games are pure area control. And at number 3, we have Ethnos. Ethnos is straight up area control. You're going to have score points when 3 dragons are shown up. Who has the majority specific area will score points. The second will score that amount of points, and the third one will score points. That's it. You repeat 3 times, who have the most points wins the game. Where is the hook? The hook is that you draw cards. You can draw from the river, or you can draw from the deck. When you need to deploy units, you will use the color of the suit of that unit to deploy in this identical area with the same color. The more cards you play at the same time, the higher is going to be the number of troops that you put there, and also you will score a higher points. Very similar to Ticket to Ride. When the longer is the train, the more points you score right away. In addition to that, you can choose which card is going to be on the top of your stack of cards that you're going to play, and that will give you a special ability. There are many, many factions, everyone with different ability that can twist and turn all the rules and all the boards outside, that give you the opportunity to add and manipulate the already tokens from the opponents on the board. Very, very interactive, very, very fast, super easy to teach. And again, a beautiful new edition for games was out of print for many, many years. And I found it gorgeous. I have honestly not seen so many complaints as I've read about the iconography and color choices. Maybe the color choices, maybe there's the black and the purple is really doesn't match. But beside that, I feel like it's perfectly fine. And number 3, Ethnos. And number 2, we have a game that I just played recently and I keep playing it. Just blew my mind how elegant it is, and most especially because it's a 2-player only game. There are not many area control 2-player only games. And we're talking about Moytura. This is a fantastic 2-player only game, area control, where the 2 opponents do not actually fight, but there is a third faction, some sort of automa faction that goes prowl around, and you need to also counterbalance that. I usually don't like where you have kind of a automa or a computer part that is doing something else, and I feel like really a bad patch for a game that is not supposed to be two-player game. But this game, it does in such a smooth way, in such an elegant and also familiar. It seems very much like a pandemic. You have these enemies spreading around, but it makes it so effortless and so it looks so natural that it is so enjoyable. The game is so enjoyable. And the cool thing is you have the action very similar to Cyclades, where you have action that you can select. This time you need to spend money. You don't bid between your opponent. You spend money, you select which action you take, where to deploy the units. You can get upgrade of the action only for you. And every time you're going to get a card, you're going to have that upgrade very, very quick. You will find yourself fighting against the automa very rapidly because it's very strong, more stronger than you expect. There's also competitive and solo mode. I found it fine. The two-player is really, really good. Number two, best area control game, definitely Moitura at number two. And at number one, we have a game that is as clean as Moitura, but I'm blown away as how simple this game is and yet how it's engaging. I brought it once to the office and now it's at the office. And as soon as we have a half an hour break, we're going to play it. And this is Rumble Nation. Rumble Nation, again, it's all about having the majority in some area that will score points. The area goes from 2 to 12. Area 2 will give you 2 points if you control the most there. If you control area 12, it will give you 12 points and everything in between. The way you do it, you do by rolling 3 dice, and then you need to make a decision. You need to take 2 dice that will indicate which region you're going to place your troops, and the third die will tells you how many troops. You can also have a reroll if you wish. You distribute the units, pretty straightforward. The hook is after everyone has put the troops on the map, you start resolving the area majority part. So you look at the area number 2, you see who has the majority there and wins the 2 points. Whoever wins is able to reinforce by 2 units all the adjacent area from the previous one, all the adjacent area to the one that has been just scored. That means you can have a cascade effect. By winning the first one, then you can win the other one because you have been reinforced from the troops coming from the previous region and so on and so forth. And so you cannot neglect that. You cannot just focus on the high scoring points area. You need to focus also on the small one because you can have an avalanche from other troops, from other players. Very, very interesting, very, very engaging. Really try to read your opponents. There is luck, obviously, because there's a roll of the dice. There are some cards that can give you special powers. But the luck, I don't mind the luck. In this game, it's actually fun. You really nail biting every time you see your opponents rolling or yourself rolling. That is really the fun of this game. And it lasts 30 minutes. And so I'm all for it. I don't want to play a game for 1 hour where luck is involved. When it's 30 minutes, I enjoyed the rush of adrenaline. Number one, Rumble Nation. And tell me, please tell me which games you would recommend instead of Risk to all of those are watching right now. And if you made it so far, I want to thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends. And if you see the hype button, please give me a hype. That will help a lot this video. And you know what's the drill. This is not your first YouTube video, am I right? Thank you very much. And see you next time. Ciao.